The dawn of civilization. Primitive. Dangerous. Exciting. The handwriting is on the wall. If the human race is ever going to amount to anything, it needs
the most civilized caveman I have ever seen.
Look who's come out of his cave.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is James from Cave Dweller Music. I'm joined today by Paul from theowlripper Recordings, a really interesting label that's based out of Czechia. You may have seen some of his work online. He's quite prolific, and he's also done quite a bit of work for other artists in the production side of things. Thank you so much for jumping on the show. We appreciate you taking the time.
No worries. It's great to get the invite to have a chat with you as well.
Do you want to maybe just tell people a little bit about the label, the theowlripper Recordings, your project, the L, and just some of the stuff that you do?
theowlripper first. That started up around 3 years ago when I just wanted an outlet for, making physical releases of my own stuff as the Owl. So just, a few like handmade tapes and CDRs and stuff like that. And then, past sort of smaller labels that I've done and promotion pages and stuff like that, I have put together quite a few compilations, either, the online ones or CDs of MP3 compilations, like a couple hundred tracks just to pass around. So I've always done a lot of compilations as well. So as time went on and I kind of wanted to do a little bit more with the label, then these compilations started happening, and then sort of naturally kind of progressed into, putting a few things out for people that I'd been talking to or working with. And then it's sort of progressed a little bit more, finding different, projects, different bands that I'd like to, I don't know, just help out, just spread the word a little bit more.
How do you find like a project? Do you just kind of search through Bandcamp, or your stuff just comes up to you, or?
Yeah, I mean, I keep it so that it's, like mostly invite only. Well, it is invite only, really, but there has been a few bands or people have said, we have this release, maybe you're interested, and usually I will say, no, but there are a few that'll pop up, and I'm like, actually, yeah, that's, more people need to hear this kind of thing. Like the Force-Fed Horsehead album.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that.
They actually got in touch, and I had a quick listen, as the email popped up, and I was like, okay, these are really good.
Yeah.
And then
really good.
once hearing that album, it was like, oh my God, just got to, there are some things that are like the exceptions to the rule and stuff, but mostly I would like to keep it invite only because, it's a limited amount of time. I'd love to release 300-400 things a year between theowlripper and my own stuff, but it's, I try, but it's not possible. So,
sorry, I was gonna say that album's fantastic. They actually came on our podcast to talk about it as well.
Yeah. So I had a listen to that. So they seem really sound guys as well. So
yeah,
this is one of the main things as well. There'll be I like to keep it sort of mainly amongst people that I know already, because I know that their sound. I know little bits of the background. I've had longer conversations with them beyond just I like your music, that kind of thing. So we'll actually talk about what people think and stuff, and then eventually it's like, okay, yeah, you make good sounds, I like how you think, I like the kind of person you are, let's pass that around some more.
No, that's awesome.
So,
I saw that you just put out Squelch Chamber, another album by Squelch Chamber. I was not sure if that was still going.
Yeah, so it's John was the guy that I originally talked to, and then there's two, a lad called Jay as well. They both seem really sound. One's a little bit more quiet than the other, just quite direct, and Jay's a bit more like chatty, and we've talked a lot about all sorts of stuff actually over the last couple of months through this, but I kind of knew them a little bit before because they've done stuff with Trepanation and I think Curse
Curse
Monk
Monk.
maybe as well.
Yeah, it's Curse Monk.
Um, so like I've kind of followed them for a little while, and they're definitely doing something different, and they've got one of the
Definitely.
best names for a band that I've ever heard. So
I love it. Yeah, it's great.
you
But
just
I
you
think
just immediately know you're going to get something horrible and weird and just filthy, and it's like, yeah, I want to listen to all of
I
that.
think it accurately like describes their sound too. Like
Mhm.
Scots Chamber is a very appropriate name for what you're listening to.
That's it. It's the kind of thing you didn't realize you needed to know about, and then you see that name and you're like, yeah.
I remember on their last album, they had this one section with the bass that they fed through so many filters that it barely even sounded like it was an instrument, and it was incredible. I was like, that is the weirdest sound, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, this one's kind of more towards just keeping it sort of slow, but there's a lot of
Ah,
noise, a lot of layers, a lot of just it's incredibly powerful. But it's
yeah,
kind of interesting because they've got this kind of sludgy noise thing, but also there's quite a few nods to like noise rock and early
yeah, definitely.
therapy and stuff like that. And it's like it's actually quite an interesting take on that
Yeah.
sort of sound, I think.
Yeah, it's like you got the extreme side. I think there's like sludge for sure in there, and like you said, noise like 90s noise rock stuff, which is really cool.
Mm.
Cool combo.
Plus, also like getting to sort of work on it with them and knowing a bit more about them, and also reading the lyrics and working on the video a little bit more. It's kind of actually there's way more layers to this than even the many layers that are already there of the noise. So like they're really like the lyrics are actually dealing with stuff, and a bit
Yeah,
sort of confrontational and just being like, do you know what? This is the planet's all a bit fucked, so let's talk about it. It's actually I've been meaning to say like it's amazing the amount of stuff that you do. Like
oh,
it's
thank you.
there's constantly like so many different outlets and things to try, and it's like doing a lot of worthwhile things, especially with like the compilations and just
Thank you.
being incredibly well organized with everything that you're doing. So it's like it's influential, it's inspiring.
I appreciate that. It's we have a good team, which really helps. So it was just me initially when this first started, really, and now we've got like five other admins and a whole team of writers and stuff. So we've got a good support network, which is great. Makes a big difference.
Yeah, yeah. I've a lot of this is just me doing this, and I've been trying to think in my head how I think in the long term I'd like to get a few more people involved,
Yeah,
but it's just trying to figure out how to delegate those things, to different people and which because all of the things I'm kind of like, you know, when it comes down to social media stuff or I've or the kind of music or bands or styles of compilations or layouts or anything like that. I kind of have it all in my head and then it just falls out. So it's like how you delegate that to somebody else.
right.
You
And
know,
then
it's
also the trust of like having someone else handle the things that you normally handle initially
uh,
is you have to let
yeah.
go of that as well.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure this out in my mind. I'd like to do it. It would be cool to have a few more people doing some things that people that are on the same page. So
Mhm.
maybe further down the line.
And that will really free you up to do other stuff that you want to do and be able to work with more people, which would be great.
Yeah, yeah. So there's definitely a lot more riffs and weird noises that I want to put out there and build more on like this sort of the stories and the messages that I'm trying to get over with the owl and the owls and Morbid Beauty as well, with like the
Mhm.
more that's a bit more confrontational noise stuff. And there's loads of subjects that I would like to tackle and loads of artwork that I've got already and everything like that. But it's finding the time to keep up with all the like basics of the concepts. It's
Right.
that it can be quite difficult.
So that's our Ripper. What about the owl? Is that's your personal stuff that you put out, right?
Yeah. So that started around 2018. And at that time, I was doing quite a lot of bands. I was in six active bands at the time.
Wow.
And like two of them were doing quite a lot of tours and stuff, like Gets Worse and 100-Year-Old Man. Um, and a few other bands that were, occasional practice, occasional gigs. But since, the early 90s, really, I've always done, weird electronic stuff, weird noise, ambient things, even if it's just me on a keyboard recording into tape. Um, and I hadn't done that for, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years. I had not done any sort of outlet of my own solo things.
Hmm.
So I was like, I want to get going with that again. So made a bit more time for it. But then as it was kind of, it, doing that many bands and trying to keep up with everything was getting a bit much. So, calmed that down a little bit and then met my then to be wife. So I was like, okay, I know I'm probably going to be leaving the country. So, reduce the band some more. And then the owl became more of a thing because, that was like, in the end, that was the only kind of band or project I had at one point. So, and it was just, it became really liberating almost because I started it to do, just ambient and bass led droney sort of stuff, and then it kind of spiraled into all kinds of directions because I've always liked all styles of music since hearing John Peel radio shows in the late 80s. So I can quite happily listen to ambient noise to thrash to whatever, go any directions. And I always like to try and show that in the bands and projects that I do.
I appreciate that because I'm exactly the same way. Like I have the Cave Dwellers stuff that I do, which is the heavy side of things and the underground extreme, all that stuff. And then I run a non-profit record label on the side that's completely different. That focuses on like folk music, world music,
Okay.
like reggae, hip hop, funk. Like it's the other side of the music spectrum. It's nice to have the balance between the two because you get to operate in different circles.
Yeah. But you can also, put what you learn from one into another, if you can figure out if it applies or not. I
Definitely.
have the same with, because I've played in bands for a lot of my life. I try and apply similar things to like the noise and experimental stuff in, like song structures and the way of putting stories together and this kind of thing which some of the like ambient or noise is kind of structureless and doesn't have as much with loops and stuff like that. It's just kind
Right.
of like a fluid thing. But I really like riffs. I've always liked riffs
Yeah.
since I was very little. So it's even in that style of music, I like to put that in. So I just thought, well, I've learned that from this sort of thing. Now I can apply it to something else.
Whose music kind of got you into the ambient space, like initially? Back.
As an actual like young kid, like 5 and 6, I got into stuff through film soundtracks and animations and stuff. So like Koyaanisqatsi like the film that kind of got me into music and film and soundtracks and everything. So Philip Glass, that kind of stuff. But then once I got to, I don't know, listening to John Peel and the, you know, BBC radio shows and stuff at the end of the 80s, they would play stuff like The Orb, Future Sound of London, and then some classics, the Brian Eno, and I suppose some of like the prog rock stuff had a lot of ambient parts as
Yep.
well.
Yeah.
So I was, even as a kid, I would kind of like, a lot of the proggy kind of things. and it was always like the weird spacey noises that I was like, oh, I think I like that more than I like the singing parts and the things about running around in the hills. So yeah, so and yeah, just the strange noises kind of always grabbed me a little bit more, I think. So especially, I mean, even when it comes to um the heavier stuff, the metal stuff, really, especially now, the bands that would grab me more are the ones that would have these weird bits or weird noises just pop up out of nowhere, and just little noise parts. Or
Mhm.
I do really like sort of grind with electronics in it.
Me too. Yeah, that's great. Power electronic stuff in grind is fantastic.
Yeah, it's just just when you think it can't get more intense, you get like 4 or 5 minutes into a record, and then you've just got some more layers of noise just thrown in. You're like, okay, this is a
Did
ride.
did you ever hear I'm just looking up right now what year it came out. Here it is. It's a project called Duma, Duma, from Uganda.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, you heard that one?
One of my friends from Leeds. I think he did mastering on that, or he's done quite a few from that scene. There's like the is it Nyega Nyega tapes.
Yes, that's it. Sorry, the
Yeah.
tapes are from Uganda. The band is from Kenya. I just remembered.
Mm.
But still, amazing project. That was like a really cool mix of grindcore, electronics, and then like field recordings.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So there seems to be like I've not explored that sort of that label and that sort of scene as much as I should do, really. We've we've only got so many hours in a week, but
Right.
when you got all these you were saying before about if how I'm finding stuff for Owl Ripper, it's like I do spend a lot of time on Bandcamp. I've got to
Yeah.
admit, and SoundCloud and YouTube, just going through all the stuff. But
It's
um,
exactly
yeah,
what I do with my little non-profit label too. I just constantly searching and anything I think is cool, I just reach out.
yeah, and it's it's because it's I've kind of figured out, apart from when I'm actually making music, but when I'm putting together you know um the imagery for releases or anything like that, I don't necessarily need to be listening to that. I can just be on with something else. So you can listen to you know 10 different styles from 10 different countries whilst
Right.
making the
Exactly.
images for an album. So yeah, I like that.
The one thing with SoundCloud, I wish it was a little easier to navigate search wise. I
Mm,
I feel like it's not
yeah.
very intuitive. Like when you try to search for a certain genre, and there's no way to refine really by like you can't refine by location or like there's just not much you can do to refine searches. It's always bothered me.
Yeah, I think it's there's a good thing to be said for having, a lot of like custom tags and custom genre things as well. But then yeah, when it comes down to searching, it becomes quite difficult.
Right.
There's all sorts of people are just putting anything on there, like tags wise and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of SoundCloud has always been almost there, but not quite.
Yeah, I agree.
Like ever since I used it for quite a while, and I will keep dipping in every so often. Um, I quite like how on the app, the track comes up, and I like how it shows the wave file. Like
Hmm.
I'm very much a fan of like WAV files and seeing the shapes of the sound.
That is
So
cool.
that's kind of a nice touch. Um,
It's also nice
so
how easy it is to like repost people's music. So if you like something, you just go like it's really easy to share with who follow like
yeah,
the
yeah,
people that follow you, which is nice, I guess. But I really love like the search functionality on Bandcamp. I think it's fantastic. Like I love being able to search by location and genre.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So because it's been quite good for me. Obviously, with moving to Czech,
Hmm.
and kind of trying to get more and more knowing of what's going on in the various areas. The same that I would in England. You kind of get to know all the little scenes in all in all the various cities and towns and stuff. Obviously, coming to a new place, I was just like, okay, overwhelmed again. There's so many, towns and everything that I can't even pronounce. And I need to try and find some bands from them just to check out. But it's been, there's so much stuff on there. The history over the last 30 years of the country. So yeah, I can just go on a journey around the country without leaving the house. It's great.
That's really cool. My co-host Brendan's just joined. I just wanted to say hey.
Okay.
What's up?
All right there.
How are you?
Yeah, man. Good.
Nice. I apologize for
someone's
being late.
pictures just popped up. It went
We,
from the Shredstorm logo to a little bearded guy, and now it's gone back to the logo again.
Nice.
There we go.
We've just been talking about his label and then the owl stuff. So I know that you like to ask the questions about local stuff in scenes and all that sort of thing. So feel free to kick off those questions.
Yeah, I moved here 2 years, well, just under 2 years ago.
Gotcha. How was that for you?
It's I love this country, and the people that I've moved around. There's like it's a great scene I'm on the east side of Czech, so it's kind of bordering Poland and Slovakia, and there's it's a rich place for like punk and metal and grind and noise and weird stuff. And
That's
everyone's
awesome.
nice, and there's a great like DIY culture and stuff like that. So it's kind of because I came from Leeds, and it's actually got a lot of similarities there. The people are similar kind of that sort of working class kind of people, and they're just if something's not happening, they're like, oh, fuck it, we'll just do it ourselves, and so they just get on with it. So it's great for things like that.
Gotcha. What are like all like the restaurants and things of that nature? Like, is it all kind of like traditional style restaurants and things like that? Like kind of like a lot of like street foods and things, or is it like how's that culture?
It's a bit of a mix. There's a bit more. There's quite a lot of like Asian. And there's a few like vegan and veggie places kicking around, which is great for me. So yeah, and there's a few. It's I think this side where I am is near Ostrava. That's the city, which is like 20 minutes away, and it's kind of a kind of quietly progressive area sort of thing. It's like there's quite a few sort of bars and DIY spaces and art spaces and things like that. A bunch of galleries and everything around. So it's kind of a little bit traditional with the sort of architecture and some of the places, and then it's sort of moving away from that as well a little bit. So it's it's a nice area for living.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. Do you have a bunch of cool like local scenes to help, like venues and whatnot, to go check out cool music, or like places to put on your bands and such?
Yeah. So the town I'm in is Orlová, and it's got about 30,000 people in it. So it's just it's a pretty small place, like 20 kilometers away from the nearest like major city. And there is a DIY collective space like 10 minutes from the house, which my wife and a few other people around here run.
Gotcha.
So they do, like sort of 2-3 gigs a month, couple of club nights. There's a social care aspect to the place as well, and they have art galleries and discussions and film evenings and stuff there. So they've been going for 25 years. So it's kind of even though it is those punk weirdos that are doing it, it's kind of become an integral part of the town, really. So it's certainly where I grew up, which was a similar sized town.
Okay.
There was definitely nothing like that, where I grew up. There was one pub where, if I went in as a mosher, I was going to get stabbed. So, it's just a pretty horrible place, and they pulled all of the area down because of gangs and all that kind of stuff. So to then move to like a nice town, which has got a DIY punk venue in it, it's incredible.
That's sweet. What's your your favorite spot to host shows?
Well, so this place is called Futra,
Okay.
and that's like I've played a few gigs in there, and there's also in Ostrava, the near city, there's a place called Provos, which is like sort of 90, 100 people capacity, and played a few times in there. And they're like that's also run by some friends as well. So
Nice.
it's just it's kind of that good friend atmosphere, and bringing a few bands from out of the country, every so often as well. So
Nice. And it's got a good space and all that.
yeah. So it's and also compared to England, it's ridiculously cheap. So
Okay, cool.
you know.
Nice. Have you been to any spots where you're just like, ooh, I don't think I would ever do this again?
um no, actually, it's like everywhere I've been going, I guess, because I'm sort of lucky enough to be around the people who have been playing in bands like a long time, like the people in the Owls. They're both been playing in bands for 20 years and stuff, so they
Yeah.
kind of already know some of the places that is maybe best to avoid. Because there's obviously you go everywhere, and there's somewhere, there's a pub that's more where the Nazi knobheads hang out. So you just go, oh, don't go in there. Go to this one over here. So,
Gotcha.
but thankfully, there's not too much of it. So,
Yeah, that's a
it's
good thing.
yeah. So I know like Czech is pretty good for avoiding all this Nazi shit. Poland is a bit more rife, just
Yeah,
just over the border, but you know,
Hungary in that area is really bad from what I've been reading for a while now.
yeah. So I've not actually been over to Hungary. That's
Okay.
I would definitely like to get over there at some point. But, oh,
Have you been to Prague? Yeah.
yeah. So before moving here, I
Yeah.
did come to Czech quite a lot, because I would come
Okay.
over for Obscene Extreme
Oh,
a lot of the
nice.
time.
That's meant to be really
So
great.
yeah, it's the craziest place. It really is. So
Yeah, tell us a
um,
little bit about that actually, because I'd love to hear a little bit about that festival.
Yeah.
um, so the first time I came was 2004, and I think it was probably like about 1,000, 1,200 people, and then it's
Whew.
gradually grown. And I'm not sure, like it's kind of hard to judge how many people, but it's up to sort of, I don't know, 8 to 10,000, I think. But
Wow.
um, but
That's
like
big.
yeah, Chirby, the main guy that runs it, is incredible. He's built it up steadily, and he's done the label, and he's just kept it going. This sort of idea, and it's just gradually grown and grown and grown. And now, I mean, that festival has pretty much put the Czech metal scene, I guess, on the map. Between that
Right.
and Brutal Assault,
Yes,
um,
that's meant to be great too.
yeah. But it's a crazy time, and it's intense music because it's all just one stage. So like 3 of the days it starts at like 10 in the morning, bands until 3:30, 4 in the morning, and then it starts again. And you just it's just like there's 80 bands over the course of the 4 days, and there's about 20 million blast beats, and it's super chilled out as well. There's areas for like kids to go play,
Oh,
and
cool. So it's
Really?
like all ages.
yeah, yes, they have like a kinder grinder section where it's just like, you know, people can just go drop the kids off for a little bit and then go have a mosh and fall down the hill and then come back and go, all right, kid. So, you know, it's yeah, it's an amazing fest. Everyone should go there at least once. You know, if they can get over, just go do it.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
I gotta
I'd
get
love
my
to.
passport. I gotta work on that.
Yep.
Brendan and I do Maryland Deathfest, and we've got our tickets for next year for that one. We went last year as well, so that's the
Yeah.
closest we've done to something like that. That's
For
pretty sweet too.
which one was it? Which fest?
Maryland Deathfest.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I,
It's fun.
I've been to a couple of Maryland Deathfests before. That's pretty intense as well. You know, spread across the various stages in various parts
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
town. So,
Like 10, 15-minute walks in between some of the venues.
yeah. So, but it is great. But yeah, I was lucky really because I played it once and visited once as well.
Sweet.
Wow. Which band of yours did you play with?
It gets worse.
Okay.
Nice.
So we did
That's awesome.
we did like a week-long tour with Weekend Nachos and
nice.
the
fun.
Afternoon Gentlemen, and yeah, it was on the East Coast, and so it was like crazy sold-out shows with Weekend Nachos, and then finishing at Maryland Deathfest. It was just like that was a proper insane week, really.
Oh
That's
yeah,
awesome.
man. Where'd you guys play at Maryland? Soundstage or the Rams Head?
Yeah, it was Soundstage.
Wow.
Sweet.
So,
Nice. That's awesome.
it was kind of a bit of a blur, really. I mean, you know, obviously it's grindcore as well, so it was just a bit, you know, but it's still one of the bigger gigs that I've played. And
Yeah.
you know, you just like we'd been there for a couple of days, and it was at the end of the tour, and then it was like, so this 20 minutes of playing in amongst that week of all that is just like, it's bit of a blur, but it's just thankfully there's pictures and videos to be like, yeah, remember.
That's awesome.
What are a couple of local bands in your area that people should check out?
Well, I can recommend an actual Bandcamp page to check out, which is there's a DIY scene Orlová, which that's basically got like an archival history going back to 1995 of like all the bands from this town and sort of adjoining like areas. That's like, you know, punk and noise and grind and some electronic stuff and ambient stuff. There's like a band called Dno, which is just DNO. That's the Owls drummer. He's also in Dno, and that's kind of like screamo-y hardcore with a bit of black metal edges to it.
Nice.
There's a few bands in Ostrava as well. There's a little selection. Well, there's two guys. They've played together in loads of bands. Skulder and Vicky, and they're in like Masola and Kulma and Prul Kanabe. They've just done Shiva Yoga as well. There's just loads of blast beat and weird noises going on. Like Masola is drums and saxophone.
Oh, I love it.
So it's basically like Naked City, you know, Mr. Bungle-esque kind of stuff.
Nice.
Nothing wrong with that. How did oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, and there's also a label called Korabushka Records, which they've put out Masola before. They've put out one of the Owl records. There's loads of weird noise and experimental and kind of garage punk and weird kind of things. So yeah, there's a bunch more bands like Imperative, Tillicum. you know, plenty of them. So it's a great scene around here.
That's
It's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, how did you get hooked up with Squelch Chamber?
Well, I'd been listening to them quite a lot before, and I was immediately drawn to the name because it's just incredible. But yeah, I messaged them and just said, you know, I've liked your stuff for a while. I'd love it if you could make something for us, even if it would have just been, you know, like something for a compilation or, you know, to re-release something they'd done. But they were like, "Yep, we'll make you something." So,
Nice.
which was, yeah, I was very happy about that.
And I was gonna ask too about force-fed Horsehead.
Yep. Yeah, they most of the time, I was saying to James before, most of the time I do like to keep it invite only because, you know, there's only so much time, and also you know, I want to do my own projects as well. I would love to be the kind of net label that does, you know, 200-300 releases a year, but it's just impossible if I want to carry on with my own stuff as well.
Right.
So, but they are one of the few bands that got in touch, just saying, "We've got this record, you know, would you be interested in putting it out there?"
Yeah.
So, you know, I did a quick click on it, and in my mind, I was ready to do the whole, you know, sorry, just, you know, I'm just doing it invite only. It's just a small kind of thing, and then within about 3 seconds, I was like, "Yep, this one's special."
Yeah, it's super
So
good.
it was just instant, absolutely instant. And then listening through the whole thing, but I got to the end of it and I was like, I'm putting that on again. You know, it's just straight away. So
Yeah. Now
you know,
they're a good group of dudes too.
yeah. This has been one of the things I always try and, you know, work with people who I do get on with. You know, that I'll chat with and talk about other stuff rather than just the riffs or noises that they're making. You know, and we end up, you know, like in some of the emails, it'll expand beyond, you know, figuring out something to do with the release. They'll just start chatting about stuff, life, you know, what we're up to and things like that. So I got the impression that they're just proper nice guys that are just enjoying what they're doing,
Yeah.
and they're like a great sort of spectrum of styles, which is everything that I'm trying to find. I want to find stuff that mixes things together. You know, you know, it's all right, a band doing similar stuff every time, but you know, I'd rather them just do something that they've never tried before. And I can imagine that their next album will be another completely different thing. Again, you know,
Oh yeah.
they'll have this kind of, you know, set sort of idea, but where it could go in so many directions.
Right. And it's still gonna be crushing and heavy for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I just noticed as well, Brendan, we're coming up on time. Did you have any questions left?
Well, we talked about the venues and the foods. Oh, well, beers.
Yes,
You
I was
got
gonna say you
some
have to.
amazing beers around.
Well, it's kind of funny because so I moved to Czech, which is, you know, world known for like awesome beers and cheap
They're
beers and
lager,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, and I don't drink anymore.
Oh, all right, good,
So
good.
I was like, you know, after I've definitely drunk a lot in the 30 years previous to this, but I was like, you know, I needed to stop. But thankfully, they also do have a good range of, you know, like non-alcoholic beers and stuff,
Uh-huh.
which are just scarily good. You know, like the I I didn't expect that Czech or Poland would be having like non-alcoholic stuff, but it is really good. So if, you know, if there's people who aren't drinking that want to visit, then, you know, they'll be they know they can be all right. But
That's cool.
but yeah, there is a lot of A lot of great stuff, that I've had in the past, and they also like Slivovitzer and Bozkov and stuff, so they're interesting spirits to drink.
Nice.
But yeah, everything it's really so cheap. For the really nice beers, it's the equivalent of like £2. So
Oh,
50, 60 crowns, and you're getting like the sort of nicer IPAs and stuff, and that's in the bars as well.
wow. I know it's like they're famous for their pilsners as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Good
and a lot
old,
of that,
good old
a,
Pilsner.
yeah, a lot of that would be sort of the equivalent of, I don't know, $1.50
Oh.
for the nice beers. So if you
Crazy.
make it to Obscene Extreme, there's a chance you probably won't get back home.
Right.
I just have
Like,
one more
oh,
question. I've got one more question for
yeah.
you because we are wrapping up. It's a
Okay.
little bit of a put you on the spot question. If you were stranded on a desert island and you had a solar powered Discman and three CDs to listen to on repeat until you got rescued, what would they be?
Okay. Um, well, so my favorite band is Meshuggah, so I would have to at least take a Meshuggah CD.
Okay.
Probably, I don't know, either Destroy, Raise, Improve or Obscene.
Yeah,
Um,
the choices. Crayons.
I haven't thought about this. I should really have thought about this. Um, Pentagram by Gorgoroth, because I've listened to that so many times, and just I know that I've not listened to it enough. That's like my favorite black metal record.
Awesome.
Um, and I need something to chill out, some dark ambient stuff. Um, I don't know. Can I just take one of mine? I know that
Yes.
sounds like
No,
really,
that's totally fine. Totally fine.
Uh-huh.
that's it's really like self-indulgent, but I make music that I like to listen to, or I'm trying to make music that I like to listen to. So,
Of course.
I have some that if I'm really kind of needing to, you know, purge something in my brain or chill out in a certain way, then I know which records of mine I can trust. So, I'd probably maybe the one that Cave Dweller reviewed in the past, which is the Odyssey one,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that
because
album.
it's got like a lot of like ambient stuff on it as well, so it's kind of nice and calming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Awesome. Well, that's a good spread. You got some variety across the three.
Yeah. Some people just like want to get crushed the entire time, and we're like, oh man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, if I'm on the island on my own, I want something that I can run around and mosh to like an absolute idiot, and know that maybe a helicopter will fly over at some point, but that's
And be
all
like,
I'll
he's being
see.
attacked by bees.
So but they'll come down and investigate. So I can get enthusiastic about weird Meshuggah timings. So
Awesome.
and
Well,
and for when it's nighttime, put Gorgoroth on and see if I can find some candles.
light some palm fronds on fire.
Yeah,
I have one more question for you. If people want to listen to your music or buy the albums that you work on or anything like that, what are the best places to do that?
Well, as we said before, like, Bandcamp is the place. I always, try and just put people towards the Owl Bandcamp or Owl Ripper Recordings Bandcamp.
Mhm.
And everything is linked to from there. So like the YouTube there's like nearly 500 videos across either my own music or the label stuff or things I've made for other people as well. And all the social media and gigs and everything. It's all linked to from the Bandcamp. So I guess people are using Bandcamp as their actual websites now, because you can just get all the information on there.
Yeah, and you can link things there and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. So I've set it up now on the Owl page. there's just an album in inverted commas, which is just about, like my history in bands in the past and upcoming gigs and stuff like that. So it's just like a bit of a list, and it's got some music on it, but it's not an album, so to speak. It's there as like these are the gigs coming up, keep it updated. So
Nice.
So everything's on there. Everything's on the Owl Bandcamp.
Great. Also, well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. It was really great chatting to you. You've got so much going on. It's nice to see.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny as well, because I was thinking, we could, because you deal with like the mental health stuff, you've done the compilations and everything, and a lot of the music that I've put out and stories that I tell in the releases as well is like mental health based and looking after yourself and figuring out how to survive in all the chaos of the world and stuff. So I even thought maybe we'd go down there, but there's so much we could cover.
I know.
That's the thing. I mean, you're always welcome to come back on, because like you said, there's so much between what you do and what we do we can discuss, and there's just so much out there to talk about that we'd love to have you back sometime.
Okay, deal. We could do 6 month updates and find out how our mental health and how our mental health and how our riffs are doing.
And for everyone listening at home, thanks for tuning in. Come back next week with another guest for you.